You're listening to Rodney Rogers Outdoors Radio, where we turn it upside down and look at the outside from the inside out. It's safe, it's legal, and we're having a blast. So put your shoes on, my friend, because we're going outdoors.
Welcome to Rodney Rogers Outdoors. I am Rodney Rogers. That right there is my partner, Coach He's in Crime. Mike the Man Coy himself.
You know, Rodney, money does not buy you happiness.
But it can buy me a boat.
So you can sail right up to it.
That's exactly right. And you get to hang out with us on our 1 hour vacation that we get to do every single week. This is our favorite time of the week. It's our Friday on a Tuesday, if that's even possible.
Friday.
I've got a Facebook Live going. You can see us there. You can see us on YouTube. You can see us just about everywhere. You can call us and ask us a question during the show. It's 1-800. What are we? What is our number? 262-345-7763. That's the first time in 2 years I forgot the phone number.
I know, you do really well with
I
that.
I just lost it. You know what I was going to do is 1-877. I don't even know what I was going to do, Mike. you were probably going to call somewhere in Taiwan or something. You can shoot a text right to us, right to Mike's little thing there.
Bring it on to my thing.
Hashtag RROR, Rodney Rogers Outdoors Radio. You can see us there. Shoot a question to us. We'll answer it and we'll read it on air. If it's bad or good, what will?
No,
oh man,
I'm just.
You got the face, man. Sometimes
you look marvelous tonight.
Thank you, brother.
I mean, more than
cut
usual.
my hair.
Maybe that's what it is.
That's what it is. I dyed my hair.
It's the glisten.
I dyed my hair to skull
it's
color.
Natural glisten. Yeah, you look good.
You get to hang out with us. This is our time. This is what we live for, and we're going to be talking about fishing. One of the greatest things. Mike, weekend.
You know what? I don't know. I was in Atlanta this week.
That's right.
Show.
You were in Atlanta.
Yeah. Did you hear? I don't know this story, so I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
Remember when we did when the two boys?
Yes.
Tragically.
Yes. Got lost at sea.
There's new reports
that they found their boat.
Yeah, tell me about this. I've only seen the headlines. I don't know enough to report on it.
So they did find their boats. They actually found it 100 miles off the coast of Bermuda. You know what's funny is I was thinking, would that boat make it to or past Bermuda? I didn't know that anyone would see it outside of Bermuda. But they found it 100 miles off the coast of Bermuda. So a German ship or something, like a tanker ship or a cargo ship, actually found the boat and then pulled it up onto their ship and then saw the registration numbers. And once they saw the registration numbers, they called the state of Florida because that was the tags, and then FWC identified it as their boat. So they did retrieve one of the boys' phone off of it.
I had heard that a pilot had seen them clinging to the boat.
Yeah, that.
Hadn't heard that.
No, that's there's so many. You know, with a story like that, there becomes so many conspiracy theories. You know, now it's just blown out of proportion.
Yeah, I also don't think I would want to be the guy going, "Oh, I saw him."
Yeah, no, you don't want to be that. Yeah,
I saw them. They were out there.
That's not the guy to be. Yeah. So yes, they did find their boat. This kind of opens up a couple things. You know what I want to say right off the bat is a lot of things I've been getting is why didn't they, when they had the boat in their possession, why didn't they pull it to shore or whatever? The Coast Guard was more interested in finding the boys and not the boat. Once they established they were not on the boat, then they just let the boat keep drifting.
So what's this Todd saying? The thing with the parents not wanting to search the phone sounds fishy.
Yes,
what's that
all
about?
The parents do want to search the phone. Apple is working hand in hand with the father. And the FWC wants the phone.
Okay, hold up.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So he's saying, look, I don't want FWC rooting around in technology that they don't know how to work. He wants Apple, and Apple's going to work hand in hand to get this phone back into working order. They don't even it's been underwater 9 months, under salt water, so they don't even know if there's any retrievable information. And the dad of the son's phone doesn't want, if there is any information at all, he just doesn't want that to be lost, by someone's inexperience or someone not knowing what they're going to do.
Okay.
So Apple's kind of working hand in hand. It was supposed to be top secret, but he was just ridiculed so much that he said, look, Apple's working with me. Just cut me some slack here.
Yeah, what's interesting is, because the first thing that came to my mind is this other Apple story where they were trying to, the terrorists, they were trying,
That's exactly
but that's different, because that was, they were wanting them to break the encryption on the phone so they could see it.
That's exactly right.
But I'm assuming the difference is on that story is that Apple does not currently have the technology to break that encryption that the FBI is wanting
was
them to
asking
get.
for, yeah.
They would have to write software. They'd have to create it
Right.
to allow that to happen, because right now it doesn't exist. So the issue with the boy's phone,
if they get to a point where it needs a password, they know this.
Yeah, they're just trying to have somebody competent go into the phone so they're not messing it up.
Right.
It's a different story.
Yeah. And then if it gets deleted at that point, then I guess you can say I tried, or I don't know. So that's where that's at. The speculation is they're foul play because the battery bank.
Wait a minute, there's foul play speculation?
Well, there is foul play speculation because the key of the boat was turned off when they pulled it out of the water, and the battery bank switch was turned to off, which
Oh, really?
just can't happen by floating in the ocean that we know of. You know what I mean? We who knows? 9 months, you don't know what's out there. So that's kind of where that it's going to morph into 10,000 different stories.
Yeah.
So
Still tragic either way you slice
absolutely tragic. So
Hey, let's talk some top stories. What do you
let's
got?
do it. I got to go off with shore this weekend.
Yeah. We can't bypass on that.
Yeah. So my buddy Manny, he called me last week. Says, "Hey man, when he calls me, it's usually good stuff. So and when I answer the phone, I'm like, I'm in." And he just laughs. He goes, "Well, you don't even know what I'm saying." I said, "Oh, I don't care. I'm in." Because who knows?
True story, I'm sure.
So we got to go offshore Saturday. Everybody was posting Mahi Bite Friday. Now, there wasn't many boats out Friday. It was gorgeous weather Friday, calm seas. Saturday, it was great weather. But when we pulled up to the boat ramp, Mike, at like 5:45, right at that 6 mark, there was 150 boats already at the boat ramp.
Took an hour to get in, at least.
Actually, it was relatively quick.
Was it?
Because everybody was launching, and it was chaos. It was organized chaos. You pull up to the boat, you back in, you shoot in, and poof, you're gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're pulling out there. Manny's wife Stacy does a phenomenal job at. Most men can't do this because it's there's boats every which way, and you got these old time captains that just think they own the water. So you're dealing with that and attitudes and testosterone and and it's just that kind of thing. And so we get in the water. And we're trolling. We built a plan to troll. We did, and it's just not a lot of people caught fish. When you have 200 plus boats, and in a relatively small area in a 10-mile span, which 10 miles is not a lot.
Yeah, but that you're not saying that's why you didn't catch fish.
No,
right?
that's exactly why I'm saying I didn't catch fish. Because here's what happens as these fish move in. The fish that are just chasing lures. Well, they got a lot of choices. That's like being at the lake, and there's 32 people there fishing your same fishing hole. It's no different in the ocean. Does that make sense? It sounds...
Yeah, but when I go to 31 Flavors Baskin Robbins,
they're always there.
There's choices, but I'm getting ice cream.
Oh, you're getting ice cream. And most people, and a lot of people will get fish. We didn't come home empty-handed. We caught bonita, so almost empty-handed.
Day 2, you caught a bonita?
Well, day 1 and day 1, I caught a bonita. Day 2, we all caught a bonita, and we caught a kingfish on day 2.
Yummy.
So if you like kingfish, man, it's good fresh. It's not so good once you freeze it. We got home, cleaned all the fish, grilled Stacy grilled the kingfish, 3 different flavors, and
Yeah, and how did you slice? You cut it like steaks, did you not?
just kingfish you cut in steaks. Because if you cut it and try to fillet it, you just don't get really big fillets. Now you got to pick the bones out, but you get the maximum meat out of it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You leave the skin on, and the oil cooks in while you're grilling it.
What other fish do you cook is typically that you would do a steak like that? So you're cutting the fish horizontally,
right?
rather than lengthwise.
You can do a couple fish that way. You can do wahoo that way. Some people fillet it. Some people steak it. Actually, you could do any fish. Like, there's no reason you can't do any fish like that if you want. But some fish, like for me, kingfish just comes to mind. One of the first fish that you can cut into steaks, and it's just better that way.
Okay.
And it's always good fresh. I don't. Most people call them smokers because they smoke it, and it gets the flavor. It's just phenomenal flavor. A big kingfish is called a smoker. So, but it was we had a glass of white wine and ate our delicious fish over a nice bed of rice.
Very
and
nice.
Man, that is absolutely the coup de grace of the weekend. So
That's the king for a day right there.
that is absolutely
And a day
the
like
king
that,
for a day.
come home
So,
and friends and
absolutely
talk about the weekend and eat the fish you caught.
eat the fish we caught.
That's.
So what do we got for top stories?
Well, let's just deal with a couple here on the FWC website. 2016 Gulf Recreational Red Snapper State Season opens weekend starting May 7th, this weekend.
This coming weekend.
So you've got in the state waters.
And we'll have 78 days of red snapper fishing this year. Last year it was not as long. The year before that, a couple of years ago, we only had 2 days. The year before that, we had 1, and then we had that span of 3, 4, 5 years where there was no snapper fishing. So
Get it while you can.
get it while you can.
Red snapper's good. May, start of sea turtle nesting season on many Florida beaches.
A
So,
lot of turtles out there this weekend.
so heads up.
Oh my gosh, we saw a lot of turtles.
Did you?
Everywhere.
And snook season closes
Yes, snooks
in Gulf State
last weekend.
last weekend, May 1st.
Midnight. The question came up, and this was a good question. If I have a snook and I catch it at 11:59, and it's a legal snook, turns 12 o'clock while I'm reeling in, can I keep it? 12:01, is it still my fish? Yes, it is still
If it's
your
on the
fish.
hook.
It's on the hook. Now, the burden of proof comes down to if you catch one at 12:01, you better be releasing. It's just one of those things you don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
You can get caught in a lie pretty easy. So, but it's just one of those things where you want to get that fish in the water as soon as you can.
Lastly, Rodney, Northwest Florida, red drum bag limit lowered to 1
Yes.
starting May 1st.
So we talked about that.
Yep.
This was the Northwest area. When we did the redfish.
Oh, is this the one we talked about last week?
This is the one we talked about. The actual.
I'm on repeat.
It kicked in. When
On
we
May
talked
1st.
about it, it was going to kick in May 1st. It hadn't kicked in yet.
Okay.
So there was a lot of fishermen out there loading up on redfish before
So a reminder.
it kicked in. So this is basically saying now you can only keep 1 redfish, where for years you could keep 2. So that's a lot of upset fellas up in that area. So, hey, you know what I mean? This is why the numbers come in the way the numbers do. And that's why it's important to talk about the fish you catch. A lot of people hold that information back, and it only leads to inaccurate numbers.
Yeah.
And poof, you went from limit, same way with snapper.
Yeah, don't be afraid to be part of the process.
Don't be afraid to, exactly, be part of the process.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's all they're there for. They're not there to
So
take you away.
And that's the key, when you're hunting and fishing outdoors, it's key to be a part of it, because that's how we get to our limits and how we know.
Yep.
So absolutely. So Mike, you want to let's just dive into our topic like we
I like that. I see you posted our
nice little artificial bait sign. So tonight we're going to talk artificial bait 101. And in the post on Facebook, I got jerk bait, crankbait, swim bait, lipless crankbait. What's the difference, and why use one over the other? That make sense? That's the question we get most of the time. Now, the baits that I'm going to talk about are inshore and lake, freshwater fishing. So you can actually use these in both instances.
Now, first of all, the big question is live bait versus artificial bait. That's the first kind of first fork in the road,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
So tonight we're taking the artificial bait fork.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So
now, do they break down into categories?
Yes.
And you know what this takes me? The initial thought is you can talk about crankbait and be specific. We're talking about whether you're bass or whatever kind of fish, and talk about a certain kind of lure or a bait.
Right.
But as soon as I walk into that aisle in Bass Pro Shop or any, it feels like miles and miles of similar and same and odd, and you get lost instantly. So
yeah.
I'm thinking I would love for you to break down this artificial lure thing into categories, because I know every one of those things, somehow they're categorized.
They are.
And then there's variations of each of those categories.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, let's take a step back. Let's just talk about artificial baits. How long they've been around? They've been commercially around since the early 1900s.
Wow. Some
of the first commercial baits. Now, Hedden and Pfluger have been making artificial baits for a long time, since the 20s.
Okay.
Rapala is how it's pronounced, has been making baits since 1936. Now, he's the original, the original Rapala swim bait. What they call now the jerk bait, crankbait kind of thing. It used to be called plugs. Everything was a plug, a fishing plug. And the old timers still call it a fishing plug, and sometimes I call it a fishing plug.
A fishing plug, meaning when you say plug, you think of what?
Yeah.
What's that
When
image?
I say plug, I think of those, the Rapalas that we use.
Okay.
The Rapalas we use. I call them Rapalas.
Do you have one with you?
I do have one with me. Let me yip it out of here. Okay. Let me get in my box here. So I'm going to pull out the Rapala, which is the infamous gold Rapala. And this is a prime example of what you said, categorizing and different, we can move them in different directions. So here we have two, and they look exactly the same. And this is where the confusion starts. As soon as I get these hooks untangled.
We've got a close-up of you doing the watching those two Rapalas
so,
mate.
Mike, now you're familiar with Rapalas, and you fished with them before. What's the difference between these two?
Hold the second one a little bit higher. I'm trouble seeing. There you go. Perfect.
So we're up in there. Okay,
one's
gotcha.
Shorter, one's longer.
Okay. Well, this is a topwater or what we call a shallow runner here. If you look at the bill here, and it floats. It's called a floater. This is a floating Rapala.
Okay.
This, which looks exactly the same but shorter, is a sinking Rapala.
Now, is that because of the little scoop on
Nope. They both have the scoop, if you notice.
Okay.
So basically what we have is a heavier lure that's made out of a little bit different wood and or plastic, and it has a weight on the inside. And it actually sinks right down to the bottom.
So there's a physical weight difference that you're holding there.
That's exactly right. This one actually weighs twice as much as this longer one just above it.
Wow.
Yeah, so this being a floater and this being a sinker, they're both called what we call jerk baits. Now, these used to be called plugs. Just flat out, just plugs. Everything that was in this kind of fashion was a plug, and it's no different now. So now we call these jerk baits, and the reason we call these jerk baits is because we just kind of toss them out and give them twitches on the way back in. We'll give it a twitch. What I do is 4 or 5 good twitches, and this bill allows it to dig deep into the water and go to its maximum depth.
Now, with that bill or that scoop kind of thing, the quicker you reel, the deeper it goes?
That's exactly right. And then when you stop reeling with this particular lure here, it starts to float back up to the surface. This one simply sinks to the bottom. Now, they have the same exact variation in between these, which is called a suspending jerkbait, which it's neutrally buoyant. So when you stop at whatever depth it stops at, it stays there.
Okay.
So it kind of stays in the strike zone.
So question then on the one that's heavier and sinks, why do they have the scoop that in my mind would make it go deeper when you reel it in if it's already?
That's what, Well, it sinks real slow, so you
Okay.
want to get it down there real fast.
Okay.
So it has a little bit bigger, what's called a bill on it.
That's the bill.
It has a little bit bigger
I'll
bill.
quit calling it the scoop then.
Yeah.
I'll refer to it by
Bill,
its
scoop.
proper name.
Yeah. So what happens is if you look at them head on, you see it's a little wider, a little deeper. Do I got that in the right spot?
You're perfect.
It's a little wider, it's a little deeper, so it allows it to dig deeper faster, and then when you stop, it sinks the rest of the way. So it just starts to drop down the rest of the way. So sinkers, floaters, and neutrally buoyant, which is called suspending jerkbaits. So that sits right in the middle. Now, these are good year round. When Rapala designed these, he actually watched on the waters in Finland. He watched the bigger fish eat the little fish, and he watched which fish that the bigger fish would go after, and they had that weird wobble. So he hand carved these lures until he mimicked that very wobble, and that's why this lure is so successful today. Every lure built now is basically designed to mimic this amazing lure.
Is that kind of the gold standard?
That's
Rapala?
absolutely. It's absolutely.
And the first two gentlemen you said originally started making, are they still a brand? Are
absolutely,
they still around?
they're still a brand. Hedden is absolutely one of the top, probably second to none, up there with Rapala.
Okay.
And Fluger, I didn't realize Fluger had been around as long as they actually have.
Fluger?
P.
P.
Yeah, with a
It's a silent P, like fat. You're fat. You're cool.
PHAT, that kind of. So it's PHLU Luger.
Luger. Got it.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Let's talk about more baits. Let's talk about crankbaits.
Okay.
How's that sound? You want me to pull it out of the drawer here? Okay, now crankbaits kind of work. Here, let's talk about what you got.
Which one you want? I got them all.
Okay, well, let's go to crankbaits. Let's go to something that looks about like this right here. So that's it. Back up one and pow, that's the guy.
Okay.
So crankbaits come in, my gosh, hundreds of different colors, hundreds of different shapes. And the key to these things is this is one of the little fat wraps. This is called a fat wrap, not a PHAT wrap. It's called plain old FAT, good old school fat. This is called a little fat wrap. And this is one of my favorite baits, especially this time of year, because remember what we're doing is we're matching the hatch. This is also a floater. So basically what we'll do with this thing will dive, and usually right on the bottom it'll tell you how far they dive. This one is...
You mean there's a number on there?
Yeah, in some cases they put numbers on there. Let me look on this one. This is a 7 to 9. So this will dive 7 to 9 feet.
Is that a ratio? Is that actual feet?
It's actual feet. Yeah, it's give or take. Now, mind you, all of these actions of all these artificial baits are depending on your line and your pole. So when you go into the store and you look at a pole, it's starting. All those fishing poles in Bass Pro Shop and all the lures are starting to make sense as we put them together. You look at all these poles. You grab a pole and it'll say crank rod. It'll be a 7'6" cranking rod. Fast action. It'll have all these fast action tip, blah blah blah, headlights, chrome wheels, the whole spiel.
I'm liking it.
So it's designed for a particular bait, which is a cranking rod. It's designed to hold a thin line.
Designed for crankbaits.
It's designed for crankbaits.
Okay.
Thin rod, get it out there as far as you can to reach a maximum depth on a lure like this. You want to get it out as far as you can on a thinner line, and it allows it to reach its maximum depth.
Now you're saying this one actually has numbers on it on the bill?
This one has numbers on the bill.
7 to 9.
Yep, 7 to 9.
Is that average?
That's average.
I'm going to ask some very elementary questions tonight because I never knew there was numbers on these.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So it's 7 to 9 in optimal conditions.
Okay. So would I think on where I'm fishing and vegetation, the depth of the water, all these things factor in on
these things factor in. This is where your depth finder comes in. You look at your depth finder, you see the vegetation is at 8 feet. This will go 7 to 9. You got to make long casts, put it on light line. And what you want to do is you want to reach the top of that grass or the top of the tree or whatever structure's under there. And it's actually kind of weedless because this bill will go down like this and it actually swims just like this. And then as it goes down, it hits these stumps. It'll come along, hit the stump, pop up, and then start reeling again. So it's pretty much weedless.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sure.
Or stumpless, should I say. Now, weeds can catch on it, and you give it a good jerk, and it'll pull up, and then you start reeling. So what happens is it has this real wide wobble, just back and forth. It's a real wide wobble. This bill design is what makes it super wide wobble. Hold on.
Now, have any of the ones we looked at so far, are there sounds associated with them? Do the
Yes.
I'll have a shaker?
I'm going to show you that right now, and that's where we're going right now. If you see this particular that I still have the string on, see the difference in the bills, how wide this one is? So
wow.
Let me flip it up like this.
Oh, yeah, that's better.
So this one is wide and it's kind of fanned out. It gives it just a hair more wobble than this straighter bill will.
Okay.
And the fact that it's kind of wide like that, it doesn't allow it go as deep in some cases. This is almost considered a square bill. This is just a short bill. This is another 5 to 7, only because it's a little wider and it's a bigger lure. This is called a fat-free guppy. And I say fat, I don't mean P-H-A-T, I mean F-A-T, old school fat.
Now, the weight on those, is there a built-in weight for
Yes.
depth?
The weight determines, the weight also determines. So here, I'm going to shake it up. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yep.
So they have rattles in them. The rattles, go back to noise, lateral lines.
Yep.
Remember, when we're fishing artificial baits, we're doing a couple things. Fish, we've said this a million times, fish bite for a few reasons. Hunger, anger.
Curiosity.
Right on. Curiosity. So when we're fishing with these, we're fishing what we're called reaction baits. These are called reaction baits. You'll hear that term if you're bass fishing or even snook fishing or whatever, because these lures work for snook and bass as well. I mean, redfish as well, and trout. So these are called reaction baits. So that lateral line, is very sensitive. When you bring a rattling lure, which is, I'm going to go to the next one, which is a lipless. Ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, you're ready? You're ready. This is called a lipless crankbait. So, and I'm going to shake it. Hear how much louder it is? So it's a lot louder. So
I thought you broke it there for a second.
So what makes this one kind of unique is it has a flat head to it. This is called the red-eye shad.
It's kind of got the bill.
Exactly. There's
built into it.
You see how it has no lip here?
Yeah.
The fact that the eye sets so far back, this lure is actually pulled in this fashion right here. So, you got it up there.
Is that it?
Nope. Next one, go back the other. There you go. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then right there. Nope. Right there. That's our guy.
Okay.
So it actually pulls it forward and holds it up just like, in this kind of fashion here.
Okay.
So, and it's super loud. And you want this to catch on the grass, and you want it to snatch it out because it is a super duper phenomenal reaction bait. I mean, this is probably one of the best reaction baits on the market right now. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's called a lipless crankbait. Now, when I say crankbait, basically all I mean is we throw it out and we crank this thing in. We crank it at different speeds, different depths, and it's just straight cranking. Jerks, twitches, the whole nine
So
yards.
crankbait literally means crank it in, baby.
Throw it out, crank it in.
It's designed for you to give it that action by reeling it in.
That's exactly right. If you don't reel it in, you don't get that action.
Okay.
Jerk baits are also called twitch baits.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Interchangeable. Okay.
Yeah, interchangeable. So these, a lot of different fishermen are use different terminology.
Let me have you repeat something just for my own clarity. A crankbait, is it meant more for a consistent reel in, and a twitch bait is more play with it?
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean,
that's putting it elementary.
Okay.
Crankbait you throw out, reel in. A twitch bait or a jerk bait you throw out. You might let it float to the top, give it a couple jerks, let it float back up, twitch it across the surface. So you got a couple different options.
Okay.
I'm going to take a minute and see if we got any questions over here.
Please.
No questions. What up, everybody over there? Okay, so
Move your water. We're not sponsored by them.
those guys. I got you.
If you need your water, it's over there.
You got it.
We are sponsored by those guys.
No, okay. Let's put that guy up there. So let's, and that's going to go to our top water. So if you go to your first picture there. No, I'm sorry. Go back the other way. There you go. I'm sorry. Keep going. Right. Keep going. I'm sorry. That's the guy.
That's the top water.
So this is also made by Rapala. This is the same lure, just a different color. This is called a skitter pop, and this is a top water popper. Now, if you notice the bill on this guy, it has like a little cup to it. So that little cup, it has a little cup. And what happens is that sits on the top of the water. The line comes out the center, and then when you twitch this thing, it spits water out. So it mimics.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's
Can
like,
we take a camera and go into the bathtub and try this?
Yeah,
thing?
let's run in there real quick. Can we put our Speedos on?
So say that again.
So this sits on the top of the water.
Okay.
And when you twitch it, it shoots forward and water spits out. And that mimics a young bass or a young bait, predatory fish hitting another fish, causes excitement, causes a reaction in the bigger fish, because remember, the bigger fish eat smaller fish. That's just how this whole world works.
Wow.
It's a bummer, but that's how it happens. So this is a phenomenal evening, summertime, early morning, one of my absolute favorite baits. I have this particular color and the one that's in, the camera to you now, in every shape and size. So now all these lures I'm showing you, I've got 30 or 40 of these minimum.
Yeah.
Poppers and walkers and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to throw. Now, this is they call this a stick bait. This goes back down to the jerk baits. This is a deep diving. If you're just a quick, see how long the bill is on this guy. This booger right here will dive about 15 feet down. I mean, it's got a huge bill.
That doubles as a spoon.
Yeah, this is
You get
pretty
caught
much.
out
This is
there.
an emergency spoon. I mean, you can see the difference between the two right there. I just got hooked in the hand, right? Oh, there we go. So you can see the difference between those two right there. Now, when do you use these baits? This is a great wintertime bait because you want to reach that 15, 20-foot depth to the warmer water. So you want to use, that little stick bait. You match the hatch. We've said it a million times. Match what's out there. Make them mad. So, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Let's go to the top water.
Top water.
You got one of those?
I got one of those.
Okay. So let's go to the top water. And this is called, this is a topwater frog. And this right here is absolutely what I call the lily pad especial. You get in lily pads, this is your guy right here. I mean, this is absolutely, probably hands down, one of the best baits out there. And to me, when I look for these baits, I always say, and it may not be true, the top catches the fisherman, the bottom color catches the fish. When you see a frog, natural color swimming, to me, I like to kind of go with the bottom. Frogs are white on the bottom. These are actually colorful on the top. The fish usually don't see the top. Sometimes you give them a little twitch, and they'll do that. So this comes in two different. Now this one is a frog as well. This is like a show and tell, Mike. This is just.
I love this.
It's like show and tell.
It's showing up really good on the
Absolutely on the camera.
Yeah,
So
the word I'm looking for.
this particular frog has the hooks built in. Let me get it here to the sides. We'll just kind of pull these hooks so you can see them. They're right here on the sides.
They're kind of hidden in there.
You see them? Exactly. It makes it weedless.
That's
and it makes it
bizarre.
brilliant for lily pads. Absolutely one of the best lily pads.
Now you're saying lily pads, but the same thing with just vegetation and stuff?
Vegetation, grass, trees, stumps, under limbs, and stuff like that. So this guy right here is my absolute, positively, hands down, my favorite guy. This is
Swim Max, is that what you're holding there?
this is the hook that I use for this thing. I'm going to flip
back
this.
it off just a little bit there.
Okay.
There we go, perfect.
Can you see that? I don't know. You might not be able to focus on it.
It's bright.
So this is the hook that I use for this particular frog. This is actually a frog hook, and I use it for a couple things. I use it for our frog and our swim baits. The swim baits hook up on it. They got a specially designed swim baits, but this frog weighted hook works perfect for the swim bait and the frog. And right now, if you see all the fish that I'm catching, and I'm up to a 131 bass for the year, so I'm ahead of schedule, and I just put a 7-pounder up on our site. So you can see that I caught a 7-pounder. This is the guy I caught it off of. Because right now, I'm matching the hatch. I'm basically taking, these baits out there, and I am throwing this. It was the weekend I told you a couple weekends ago that we caught 100 fish in 2 days. This is all we fished with. 100%. We didn't fish with anything else. This was it. This bait right here.
What's it? Okay.
This is a the Bitters swim bait. This is just it's called a naked shad.
That's the shad.
This is the shad. This is what we're doing, is matching the hatch. Now they've got tons of different colors, and I probably got 20 different colors myself, and I use them. And color didn't matter. Remember, we're looking for the pattern, not necessarily the color.
Gotcha.
We're looking for the pattern, and that's what we want. Not what did you catch it on. It's not what color did you catch it. It's what did you catch it on. And then, as you can see, I've got the frog, which is great evening and morning, and just these little tails right here.
Now, what's the category for these again?
These are soft baits. Go back up. That's your swim bait? Nope. Right. One more. Right there. That's your swim bait. So that would classify in this category. This would in your swim bait category.
This is in our swim bait category.
Yep, and it's a soft swim bait right there. So that would fit in our swim bait category, and then this would just go into our soft top order frog category. So these are what's called soft baits. Anything pliable, rubber that you can work with are called soft baits.
Okay.
The other baits that we went over are called hard baits. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, and they're all called lures.
Okay.
I mean, call it what you want, but they're just lures. You're trying to lure the fish in. I know that sounds super elementary, but a lot of people don't get.
No, but it's important, and that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You hear these terms, and it's nice to break them down and go, okay, yeah, a lure is a lure. That sounds simple.
Exactly. And we just had Sean on Facebook just say he called the one a chugger. And they call them chuggers.
Which one's that?
That's the one with a little cup on the mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's also called a chugger. Because you chug it along. You just go chug.
Interesting.
How you like that sound effect?
It's good. Really good.
I'm not allowed to use real sound effects, so I have to make up my own.
It's probably best.
Thank you, Sean.
Yes, thank you, Sean. And also, Todd, I'm getting comments from Todd over here saying the sound is out, but it's back. It's back. It's good.
Oh, we're back.
But I also want to let people know when they are commenting on Twitter. There's a delay.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes we're going to get the Twitter instantly, but I'm going to see this probably 3 or 4 minutes. There's quite a delay between what you're seeing and what's happening in real time.
What's actually happening.
So keep that in mind. If you see it happened 4 minutes ago in real time. A lot of times, sometimes when Rodney and I shut down at the end of the night, we can rush out in the other room and watch the last 5 minutes.
And we do that. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
What's next? What do you got, Rodney?
Let's go to now. This one is absolutely now. This is a great lure. It's called a skitter walk, and you walk the dog. So this is called a lure it's called walking the dog, and it just basically flips back and forth in the water.
Show me the whole thing. Show me a whole profile.
So there's the whole profile right there. And I was showing you, it kind of looks like a torpedo. I don't know if you can kind of see it.
Yeah, you certainly can.
It's basically, it's very rudimentary. It's torpedo, and it has one big old buckshot in there, man. You can see right through it, and you can actually see the buckshot in there. I mean, it's just one big lure.
Oh yeah, do that rocket really slow.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you can see it moving.
Can you see it there?
Yeah, sure can.
So it has one big loud weight, and they make all these without weights. Sometimes when you're in super clear water and you're running crankbaits, it's better to have no weight. Okay. Absolutely no weight. Because it's loud sounds. If they can see and hear it, a lot of times it's just enough to scare them away. So if you're using a crankbait in clear water and they're not biting, go to one without weight.
Interesting.
So a lot of times that'll solve your problem. So this is a great snook, redfish, trout, bass, you name it. This is your all around phenomenal topwater lure.
So that's a topwater.
This is a
Is
topwater.
that similar to anything else we've seen?
It's kind of similar to the popper. To
Okay.
What we're calling the popper,
Okay.
chugger, skitter pop. It's kind of similar to these. They're both topwater.
Skitter pop. My dad used to call me that.
That was my stripper name back in the day, Skitter Pop. Yeah, that would be a good. So yeah, you got it up there. You got it. Keep going. One more.
Which one is it? Oops. Sorry.
Let's see. Keep right there. That's
one?
the guy. That's the guy. Oh nope, that's your prop bait. I'm sorry. Maybe we don't have that one up there. So this is you walk the dog with this. Walking the dog is so easy with these things. It's just unbelievably.
Explain walking to the dog to me, man.
So walking the dog is we have a video out there on YouTube that shows a prop bait, and you work the line the exact same way. So as you tighten up on the line, this thing just literally wiggles back and forth, and I mean every time you twitch it, it goes one way or the other, and it just walks across the water, and it's called walking the dog. Who came up with walking the dog? I'll never know. I have no idea. So those mimic wounded bait fish or feeding bait fish or something on top of the water to get everything nice and excited. So I'm going to show you one that you're familiar with. And this one we have the video out there. It's called the prop bait. We did our prop bait video.
Oh, yeah.
So there's your guy. You just passed it. Right there. You see the prop on the back. This one has one on both ends, which is where I like them. In our video, you hear me say that, and I laugh every time I see that video.
Who wouldn't, Rodney?
I know, it's just
Who wouldn't?
and I always keep two of them because you don't want to catch one in your buddy.
Yep.
So this is actually was one of our first videos we had
That's
ever
right.
shot. You
Yeah,
remember that?
I
That was
totally remember.
gosh, that was some years ago. So this is a prop bait. So basically, you throw these out and you let them sit. This is probably one of the best summertime baits that are out there.
Why is that?
It's just in the summertime, fish are very sluggish. Remember, their metabolism goes down, their strike zone gets a little smaller, and these baits are great because they cause that little excitement,
Okay.
and then you let them stop. You just freeze them. Don't move it, and then give it a couple twitches. The props start to spin. Ouch, good.
That might not have been
That hurt.
I'm glad I had a close-up of you.
Yeah. So,
So the spinner spins, is that just giving it more action? Do the
that is
fish
giving
see that or sense it?
Yes, it gives it a splash.
Okay.
Almost, like
Sure.
the popper, just gives it a splash.
Okay.
And then you got guys. This is the bomber, Smoky Joe, or this is not the Smoky Joe. This is the Golden Joe, or something
I just
like
realized he has a spinner on both. Like you said,
Yeah.
that both ends. Yeah.
Yeah, both ends.
Where our other one, and the photo is just on the tail.
that. Just on the tail. So, sorry. That's again. This is where it gets confusing. It's understandable when you get into the aisle and you walk down these aisles and you're like, man, where do I start? I mean, how do I figure this
Yeah.
out? How do I sort this out? And one of the easiest ways, and when I'm in Bass Pro Shop and I'm doing demos in the Bass Pro Shop, I get that question. You would not believe how often I get that question a lot of, okay, Rodney, I've got 10,000 baits to choose from. Where do I start? And then my first question is, what are you fishing for? Tell me what you want to catch. And then they'll break it down. They'll say, okay, well, I just want to go red fishing. And I said, well, let's, or I want to go bass fishing.
But don't you think, stepping back even one step further, somebody like myself, because I was asked this very question in Bass Pro Shop, not by you, but when we bought a reel, they said,
Right.
well, what do you want? And my thought is, I just want to catch fish.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, when you don't even know necessarily what you're fishing for, I'm not targeting a fish. I just want something that I can go to the lake.
And bite the hook.
Yeah, because I don't really know what's out there. What's around here? If I stop at off of the 417 and
Right.
and throw it in the pond, what's my best bet? What's my best bet for my money throwing it out there?
You just answered that question. So if I say, what are you fishing for? And your answer was, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to stop at a pond and fish.
Yeah.
Then that's when I point them to.
Yeah, my wife is still yet to catch her first fish.
Right.
And do you think she cares which fish is on the line
No,
first?
exactly.
She needs something on the
She
end of
makes
the
it
line.
very plain. I
Yeah.
don't care
Yeah.
what's on there, but she often, when she fishes, she enjoys
She does.
that process.
Well, she just
actually
enjoys being
yeah,
outdoors
she
and the
does.
quiet and the sounds. And
It's that process. This is what I point everybody to, for the first. When they tell me that, I just want to go out and catch a fish. This is absolutely the lure. This is actually the Rapala F13. This is the F11 has two hooks. The F13 Golden Rapala, Golden Shiner, F13 has three hooks. I kind of like it that way. I like it with a little more hooks.
is there 12?
No, there's 7, 9, 11, 13.
Interesting.
Yeah, odd numbers. That is interesting. So the odds are in your favor. You cast this in most ponds, and I would say most, probably 90%, and you're going to catch a bass, a speck. I've caught speck. I've caught catfish off of these. So something is going to hit it. It has that absolute phenomenal, wiggle to it that just makes bass strike. So when someone comes up to me and says, I just want to throw in that pond.
Yeah.
I just want a pole with fishing line, and I want to get out there and I want to throw a lure. I give them this lure. I set them up with a inexpensive rig. I try to stay around that $30, $40 range as far as
Sure.
Combos go. And then, I put them on that Rapala.
So the Rapala jerk bait, crankbait.
Yeah,
Neither?
Rapalas. Yeah. That would be the jerk bait.
That is a jerk bait.
That is a jerk
Okay.
bait. And also called a twitch bait because you can
Okay.
let it on the surface and twitch.
Okay.
Fishermen are going to call it, like Sean called it a chugger. Some people call it a popper. Some people, so everything's going to have a name, its own name. And people are going to call it something different, I guess, at some point in time. So it's key to pick up that lingo, that what should I say, the fishing lingo versus swim baits, soft
Sure.
baits,
Yeah.
hard baits. What kind of baits am I going after? What am I looking for? So that's the easiest way to start it out. I know that was a lot of information to kind of shove down right there, and we could get into a 4-hour show of how to fish each particular lure, what conditions, where at, what line, what pole. I mean,
Yeah.
that just opens up a whole gamut. But the key is it doesn't matter what rod and reel combo you have, you can fish all of these. And I say it all the time when I'm doing the Bass Pro demos. One of our biggest problem is, as fishermen, is we have this giant tackle box loaded with gear, but we have one or two lures that we have all the confidence in the world in. And when we don't get to go out fishing that much, we'll fish with our confidence lure. And when we don't catch fish off of that lure, the first thing we do is, we threw everything in the lake.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. We fished our confidence lure that we just knew, would catch fish. And
Yeah.
it does once a
Yeah.
year because that's what it's designed to do. You're fishing your favorite lure at the wrong time. Grab those other lures in your box. Give them the gamut. The key is once you catch a fish off of it, it now becomes one of your confidence lures. Pay attention to the environment around you, your weather, your sunshine, and was it cloudy? Was it was the water temp 90 degrees, 40 degrees? So
The lure you put on more important than the fishing pole or
yes,
set up your
absolutely,
because that's what's in the fish's face, right?
Exactly. And my buddy Manny and I were talking about it this year. You get a $100,000 boat, a $5,000 reel, $100 worth of fishing line. You get all the way down to your fancy $35 lure, and what happens is it all boils down to what hook.
Yeah.
Your $100,000 rig boils down to a 20-cent hook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just like tuk, 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 all the way down to the 20-cent hook.
Sure.
So the most important thing you're fishing with is that hook.
Yep.
And Manny and I believe in sharp hooks, period. So
And that's why you're saying you replace them.
I constantly, when you buy these expensive lures, now they're going to cost you $8, $9, $10 a piece, but they put these very minimal hook on there. And I'm telling you, these things, I can bend all these hooks shut with my fingers, literally, except the ones that I've changed out. I mean, you can see the hook on The silver one is basically a saltwater hook. It's designed a little heavier for those saltwater fish, where this guy is just you can already see I've got a broken barb on this one. I broke that off in a fish. So when you set the hook on here it is, perfect example. Can you see how bent that is?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There you go.
So that one's bent. That's the way it's supposed to look, and then that's the way it does look. And this is when